Hi everybody, I'm Maxine from Maxi Marketing. This session today is about Twitter and how you can use this for lead generation, telemarketing and cold calling, but also monitoring conversations on Twitter. So Twitter can be absolutely fantastic whether you're a small business or a large business, but anywhere where you have a local target audience to consider as part of your marketing plan. You can identify conversations and people and then go on to connect with them and engage with them and build up your connections of people who are likely to go on then and either introduce you or recommend you or endorse you to other people. One of the things about Twitter generally, using other search criteria, is that it's quite easy to lose time. You can get carried away with the whole fun of Twitter, but not necessarily focus or prioritise the people who are within your local target market. I'm not saying that you should use Twitter just locally. That would take out a lot of fun. People get referred from people who are in different countries all the time. Things can come full circle. So I'm not saying that you should use it just locally, but it can be helpful if you've got a marketing plan in place where you can be more organised and more structured with your local target audience on Twitter. It's particularly useful in a lead generation capacity and telemarketing, which is how we get involved. It can be much better than buying a prospect data list, which even though that might be profiled by a geographical location and turnover and industry and employees, for example, but you won't necessarily know anything about those people in the same way as you would do on Twitter. On Twitter, you can look at that profile, you can look at their Twitter stream, you can quite easily familiarise yourself with that person or that organisation or any hot topics of things that are going on in their organisation. You can actively listen to your target audience as well in terms of what are the most topical issues, what are the things that people express a need for the most. So all of that can be relevant as well. It shows that you're on the ball, that you're aware of what's going on and you're ready to respond as well. Don't forget these tools are monitoring conversations real time, so you do need to be geared up for that in terms of resources and appointments. There's no point in somebody saying that they've got a need or an interest or a desire and you respond to that, but then actually you're not available for the next 2 weeks. So you do need to be careful, look out for things like holiday periods and so on. You need to be careful how you respond as well. There's a few options available to you, but you don't want to come across as a bit too spammy. So you do need to think about how you respond. But it's a fantastic way for small businesses to compete with the large national brands. You can respond quite quicker and slicker than some of the large corporates. And now it doesn't cost the earth either. There's some free tools out there and there's some low cost applications out there. So you don't need to take out a small loan either now to be doing some social media monitoring locally. I'm going to recommend a couple of tools, but you can understand really how word of mouth recommendation and Twitter are fairly similar in some respects. So there are some industries that have been very dominant in terms of word of mouth recommendation and referral. A couple of examples of those might be accountants and trades. You can see that people will always recommend accountants that are trusted. General builders, for example, if somebody's done building work for you, then you're more likely to recommend them to other people or use a supplier that's been referred and recommended to you by someone else, because there is that implied trust in there as well. So that's no different really if you think about some of the directories that exist online where people do stars or ratings or they give feedback. Twitter's similar in that respect because people will say, I endorse so-and-so because of XYZ reason. And that's the kind of thing that goes on. So if you take the concept of word of mouth recommendation and referral, you can understand why Twitter is so attractive in that regard. So there are some tools that you can use for listening. I mentioned some of them were free or low cost. The one that we recommend over and over and over again for small businesses who are looking for a free application is twitterfall.com. So that's Twitter, FALL.com. And on that page, you'll go to that website and you'll be greeted by this fantastic free application. You can insert keywords and phrases that people are likely to have conversations by, and you can also set a geographical location that you want to monitor, whether it's 20, 30, 40, 50 miles. whatever it is that's going to be relevant to you. It is a real-time tool. The conversations do scroll down the screen, but you can log in with your Twitter account, you can pause it at any time, and then you can decide how to respond. So you may @reply, you may retweet, you may take any other actions from inside Twitter for, but that's the one that we recommend. It is only for one account, you know, so you would have to log out and log in as another account if you looked after more than one account. But the good news is that there's also an iPhone application as well, which makes that really handy for sole practitioners or people on the go and people who are not glued to a computer screen in the office all day. So you can use that as well. So that's twitterful.com. There is the advanced search tool on Twitter. People sometimes forget about that, but that does have a geographical aspect to it as well, so it's worth having a look at that. Our absolute favourite, though, I have to say, is Sprout Social. We use that for when we're handling multiple clients because we can set those up and monitor them all in one go. We absolutely love this tool, really do. It's a really, really brilliant tool, not just because of some of the features, and also this geographical aspect to it as well. So if you're looking for a low-cost solution, do consider that because it is a very reasonable price for the value and the features that you get from that. There is a free trial available as well for 30 days. You've got nothing to lose by taking that for a test drive. If you do sign up for the free trial, I'd encourage you to go for, I think it's either Premium Edition or Professional Edition, because that's the edition that's got the geographical search facility on it as well, not the basic edition. But on a free trial, you know, go and have a look at that and see how you get on. If you get on quite well with that, you may then consider, well, what's your return on investment for that kind of a tool, you know, going forward, really. You'd look at return on investment like you would do with any other marketing campaign or telemarketing campaign. You know, look at the cost of the application, but then also consider your time as well and how many leads you might generate in return for that cost. So like I say, it's no different from like looking at how you would look at return on investment for, say, a telemarketing campaign. I did mention before, like, to be careful how you respond to people, and there are a few options available to you. So, for example, you could @reply, but remember that that's quite public. Now, in some cases, you might want other people to see that you've replied. In other cases, you may not want other people to see that you've @replied somebody in terms of like pitching for their work or offering assistance. Don't forget, you can't direct message unless somebody's following you, but you can @reply, encouraging that person to follow you so that you can direct message. Now, people tend to do that in a customer support capacity, but you can also do that in a lead generation capacity as well. You could decide perhaps to try to connect on another social network as well. So that conversation might be identified on Twitter, but then you may follow that conversation up by connecting on LinkedIn or Facebook, for example, for business. You could possibly send a one-off email, but you need to be careful of the spam rules there. So just be careful for that. You might get the email address either from their Twitter profile or from a click through onto their website if they've got a web link set up on Twitter. Then obviously our favourite and where we come in is cold calling and lead generation. Now in the UK, before you make an unsolicited cold call, you do need to do a TPS check. A handy resource for 5 free checks a day is tps-check.com or tps-manage.com. Both of those sites, you know, will give you free TPS checks per day. I think there's 5 free checks per day, so do check that out. But you do need to TPS check before you make a cold call. Now you might be thinking, well, how do people respond when you make a cold call from a conversation on Twitter? Well, surprisingly, quite good actually. We don't have hardly any negative responses whatsoever. It's a bit fun, there's a bit of a novelty, and the handy thing is that you normally get past the gatekeepers too, or at least we do anyway. You know, but you can use information that you've familiarised yourself with from that Twitter stream or from that profile and build that into your conversation when you actually make that cold call from the conversation on Twitter. If you don't like cold calls, then obviously you can get somebody else to do that for you. But don't be worried, just sort of try that and see how you get on. We're obviously fairly experienced in that. We've been doing this quite a lot. We've been doing it for pay-per-lead, and we've had our arms twisted really a little bit to roll this out more and more for existing clients. And obviously we're offering this out generally now because it works so well. So I've mentioned accountants and trades, but don't forget other industries as well. Printers, recruitment, IT support. But the key thing really is to think about what words would be used in a Twitter conversation. So if you're a plumber, that might be the words toilet or leak or heating. If you're an accountant, it might be conversations that go along the lines of using words with VAT or tax or bookkeeping or payroll. If you're a printer, it might be things like business cards or letterhead. If you're recruitment, it might be we're hiring or new vacancy. Hopefully you get the gist of what I mean by the words that are used in a conversation. And obviously from that, you'll obviously pick up those leads and be able to take it from there. Now, how valuable this is for you will depend on the volume of conversations that exist online. If you're in a particularly niche area, there may not be the volume that requires you to or justifies you to spend that amount of time and effort monitoring these conversations. But if you give it a go, you'll soon see what volume in that exists. This is different to Twitter generally, where people just have those conversations and trust that if someone's interested, they'll click through. Finally, I just want to mention about customer support. It's always a good idea to put your own name, URL, employees' names, and any misspellings of your company name, as people do with us, because people might remember your name but not necessarily spell it correctly. And I'd encourage you to do that just so that you can make sure that you're on top of any comments that have been made, negative or otherwise, but it just shows that you can respond to. So that's just another really quick thing to mention. Hopefully I've given you quite a lot to think about. Twitter is a really big subject, but I've tried to make this so that it concentrates on identifying those conversations so you can use them in a telemarketing capacity. I hope you picked up some tips. And thanks for watching. There's a link below. I would love to see some comments. Thank you.